Want to know one ridiculously powerful way to calm your anxiety, quiet the mind, and give yourself permission to express yourself? Spoiler alert, it's being creative. In this episode of the Love Body Woman Show, Lisa from Seven Breaths shares her passion for creativity as a way of healing the shit inside of you, of quieting the anxious and busy mind, of letting go of perfection and de-stressing by drawing, painting, and creating, by listening to a part of you that you may have forgotten about or deliberately ignored, listening to the woman within. The Love Body Woman Show is all about listening to the woman within, learning who you truly are, and loving every single part of yourself again, guiding women back to themselves. It's not an easy thing to do, especially when the mind keeps butting in with its 2 cents every time you need to or want to do something. The mind is a cavern of guilt, shame, embarrassment, self-loathing, anxiety, and a whole bunch of other feelings that just come in with a baseball bat and take our dreams and desires and our hopes and our joy and smashing them to smithereens. My incessant need to know why we are the way we are as humans brings me here to the Love Body Woman Show. A desire to understand myself and others on a much deeper level. What is going on inside of us? There are things lurking inside there that really nobody should ever know about. It is my intention with the Love Body Woman Show to bring us a little closer to knowing who we truly are and most definitely loving every single part of ourselves again. The light side of who we are and especially the darker side we all have within us. I will explore it all. You are the reason I am doing this. Yes, of course, there are personal and no doubt selfish reasons also, but there is a deeper meaning too. I feel it. I feel that my soul wants everyone to feel love, to be loved, and to feel safe within themselves. To know how to do that amongst all of the mess that our world endures. Knowing it is possible when it feels impossible, guiding you back to yourself so that you use every ounce of your possibilities to alter, affect, and excite those close to you and those drawn to you. Coming up, I'll be sharing with you the insightful interview I did with Lisa from Seven Breaths, and later on I will reveal the 3 best ways that I listen to myself, that I've learned to listen to myself, that really do work. I'll offer you some advice that you didn't ask for, and I'll give you your ugly truth homework. Plus, I'm going to share a story about my depression and how it usually stops me from listening to myself. But first, let's chat about listening to ourselves and trusting ourselves. Personally, I do find it hard. Of course, not as much as I used to, but sometimes it still is hard because being able to listen to ourselves is, I believe, the most important thing we can do. If we aren't able to listen to what is going on inside of ourselves and notice the difference between the varying parts of ourselves and their intent, then we will simply be running on autopilot and only taking the word, which is usually the mostly mean and horrible and conniving word of our mind, causing us to falter, hold back, and give up. Over the years, I have had many times when I have completely ignored the gut feeling that I've had, my intuition, or the guidance that I just couldn't believe whether it was true or right for me, making decisions out of fear and anger and those all too well-known life suckers, self-loathing and hate, causing me to feel trapped in my own self-made hell. Now, there are too many times to recall when I didn't listen to myself, which was really just my whole life. because I'd lived in the misery of my mind, the made up stories and excuses as to why I shouldn't, couldn't, and mustn't. But the two biggest times when I did listen to myself and trust my gut and what I was feeling was when I met my now husband and when it was time for us to buy our house. I met my husband in 2007. We hadn't seen each other for 20 years. Our mums were friends when we were younger, but they moved away and I hadn't seen them for a very long time. I moved to London for a few years, and in that time his sister came and moved over and we reconnected and became friends again. So this day she was having a barbecue, he came. And there was an instant connection. I even remember thinking to myself, no, I can't go there. That's my friend's brother. That's just off limits, not happening. It happened. So a few days later, and this is where the listening part comes in. We'd had a couple of nice days together. He was only down visiting from another state. But I was laying in bed. We were due to go out. And he popped over to come pick me up so we could go out. And I remember laying there thinking all of those crazy thoughts that we often think in times like these, when you meet someone and you wonder what's going to happen. Is it worth it? Will it go anywhere? Should it go anywhere? Do I want it? Do I not want it? All of that stuff. I remember thinking that. And then I just had a feeling. I don't think there are any words to it. I just remember a feeling of, I have to give this a go. I have to do it. I can't ignore it. I can't just dismiss it and run away like I would normally want to. And so I did. And it's been, 16 years later, and we're still together. It has had its ups and downs. We have had hard times. We have had heartbreaking times, and we've had lots of good times as well. But in all of that, I knew, and he knows, that this is where we're meant to be. So if I didn't listen to that voice, who knows where I would be? That's hard to tell. But I did listen, and this is where we are. And I know this is it. This is where I am meant to be. So listening to that voice was crucial, and I'm glad that I did. So the second biggest time that I listened to myself, when my gut, my intuition, something really strongly let me know that we were going to buy a house. Now, buying a house for me was something I had secretly yearned for. I was always very, I was going to say desperate, adamant, I always knew that I wanted to have my own house. And it was something that was in the back of my mind, but there was also those thoughts of, I don't think that's ever going to happen. But one day I was closing the patio doors. Our daughter was still, I think she was about one-ish, 1.5. And I felt so strongly, just right here, very viscerally, just this strong sense of, you are going to buy a house. And I was like, oh, okay. It started something inside of me to notice how we could buy a house. What can we do to buy a house? We didn't have a deposit. We weren't really saving any money. But I came across in our local shopping centre, only within the month, I think it was, a company that helps you to get a deposit for a house. So me being me, I looked into it, I ummed and ahed, I questioned, I wanted to make sure that this was the right company, and it was. We had a wonderful experience with them. And the gentleman who helped us to buy a house was amazing. He was so lovely. And 8 years later, here we are in our own home, and We are so glad that we did it. It is one of the best things that we've done for ourselves. So that gut feeling that I had, I don't think there was any way I was not going to be able to listen to that, because it was so strong. But it led me to one thing in my life that I'd always wanted, that I'd always dreamed about. And as I said, I'm so glad that we did. On top of what our minds lead us to believe, there is so much more out there that causes us to diminish our dreams, to give up, and just live a life of mediocrity in order to fit in, to not rock the boat, and to trust other people's opinions and ideas, because they are apparently so much more than our own thoughts and ideas. The world out there it's not meant to be quite so hard. We can make it quite hard for ourselves and for others, with others making it hard for us to live in a way that feels best for us, because there is too much control and there's not enough letting go, allowing people to just be. Where does that come from? It comes from our mind, our ego, rules, society, patriarchy. And being a woman in this world can be ridiculously hard. Whatever way you turn, there is always someone telling you that you've turned the wrong way, that you are in the wrong place, that you are doing something wrong. And it fucking sucks. It sucks knowing that where to be is simply not enough. There's a whole multitude of reasons and distractions and restrictions, interference, interrupting the good mood that we have, our flow, our excitement, our reasons, and our knowing, which is why it is extra important to feel the difference between which voice to listen to know thyself better, and to have courage, if only just a little bit, to stand up for who you are and why you are here in the first place. What are your thoughts on what I have said so far? Do you agree? Do you possibly disagree with some of it, all of it? How easy do you find it to listen to yourself? Share your comments in the comment section below if you would like to. And while you're there, thanks for hitting the like button and subscribing to the Love Body Woman channel for more ways to listen, learn, and love. When I first met Lisa from Seven Breaths about 6 months ago, I just knew I had to interview her and speak with her and share her story. But what we talked about was so much more than I could have ever imagined. Her own healing journey has come from many different places, with art being at the forefront. It has calmed her anxiety and given new belief to her artistic abilities, after being told that there is no point being creative if you have no plans to become an artist. Years of doubt began to wash away in those first childlike paintings, using her fingers to create something from nothing, to then being guided to create something more, a truly beautiful piece of art. From those first hesitant creations to now teaching mostly women how to get out of their busy mind and into their heart space, her clients are expressing themselves in a way they may never have been able to before, getting in touch with their emotions through the love of art, of creation. She shares how listening to the woman within begins in the heart, not in the mind and not in the busy. Here is Lisa's story. Being creative doesn't come easy, at least for some of us. The want is there, the inclination, the yearning perhaps, to express yourself and who you are onto a page, whether it be with words, paint, a pencil, or imagery. For centuries, artists have given themselves to their work, painting a story either figuratively or literally, admiring the world in every brush of color, illuminating the darkest of thoughts in every word on a page, scratching and glossing a story so vibrant and dim that one becomes captivated by the parallel presumption. Art is a promised land of something more, a highly sought after affiliation for which one must belong in order to be recognized and acclaimed. It is the only way one must create. Or is it? I don't know about you, but I have held the belief that being an artist in any of its many forms must be done for profit, to make a living, for others to bear witness, to appreciate and admire. Our world is full of beautifully crafted visions of identical and comparable lives. And if you cannot assimilate yourself in the exact same way, then you may not call yourself an artist. Lisa from Seven Breasts was educated on this fact when her high school teacher clearly let her know that there is no point being creative if you are not going to be an artist. So she stopped. She stopped doing something she enjoyed because of this one comment. And it is years later that she now uses art as therapy, as a way for women to nurture themselves, to connect with themselves and get out of their busy mind into the flow of being creative. It is in those quiet moments where you can hear yourself so much more clearly. You can listen without all the noise getting in the way. Here is what Lisa shares about her return to art and how she now uses art therapy to help others.
I am a holistic art therapist, and my passion is to help women come more into their heart space. So get out of their busy minds and come into their heart.
Yes.
Also to express themselves. I find more and more women are having trouble expressing their emotions or their feelings or getting in touch with that. And I teach women and hold space for them in that environment to allow them to express and have freedom. It came about from my own healing journey. So when I was about 38, I had a massive spiritual awakening, and that involved a lot of me healing all my past childhood,
The stuff.
And the deeper and deeper I got into that, I realized that I wasn't expressing myself. I wasn't actually expressing how I was feeling truthfully. And my daughter also had high anxiety. And I could see that art helped her calm down.
Yeah, okay.
And in turn, it helped me calm down because I discovered I too also had anxiety that was undiagnosed. So I knew there was some magic in art, and the problem was I always thought that I wasn't creative, and I always said to myself, I can't draw, I'm hopeless at art, and going to high school kind of crushed that for me. During primary school I loved to create, high school was, I started to get C's, and I do remember my teacher actually saying, well, do you want to be an artist? And I'm like, well, no. Well, then what's the point? And I remember thinking, okay, so I don't want to be an artist and I'm not creative, so I just let it all go. And it wasn't until I started this healing journey and started thinking, what did I love to do?
It all began with her daughter and then herself, realizing creating art was therapeutic.
And I just got really interested in the therapy side because I could feel it made a difference in my body. I could feel it made a difference in my children. So then I decided to study an art therapy diploma, which really just all the dots aligned. I was definitely meant to do that in my life. It opened up my creativity. It exploded my creativity, I should say. And I started to nurture my creativity, started to nurture me, started to nurture my heart through that process.
Have you ever wanted to do something creative but stopped yourself because you are not an artist? That you've held yourself back because you didn't believe you had any creativity within you. Well, Lisa, she challenges that notion.
So it actually, what I teach is that art and creativity is in us. It's in every single being. And it doesn't matter what it looks like. It's how you feel while you're creating. And it's about quietening that mind and coming into that heart. That's my biggest teaching. And I feel like it's very misunderstood. We kind of...
Definitely.
Yeah.
Very much so, yeah. Because we do have... I guess what's shown to us and what's told to us and what's, taught down the line about what an artist is and what creativity is. And creativity is something to earn from.
Yes.
It has to be a living.
Right.
And as you said before, if you don't want to be an artist, then what's the point?
Yeah. And that's what we're led to believe.
Yeah, exactly.
But it teaches us so much. There's so much in creativity and about that quieting down the mind. You know how you have those little voices. When you stop and create, you get to hear yourself.
Yeah,
Right?
which I think can be the scary part.
It can.
Why some people might put it off in the first place.
But if we don't go there, we can't see it. We're an automatic pilot.
Oh,
and I always like to say that's when we need to learn to love ourselves the most. That's when I'm talking about that nurturing.
Yeah.
So when we sit to create, I teach everyone to listen to those thoughts. And majority of the time it's critical. It's the biggest inner critic comes out to play when we create. You're not good enough. That's terrible. Everyone else is better than you. Oh my gosh, that's not perfect. Screw it up. Put it in the bin. All these thoughts come out. But that's for us to see what's actually going on. And if you're doing that when you create, you're doing that in your life. So I always like to say how you do art is how you do life.
Healing is not linear. It is all over the fucking place. It is essential though.
Curious about them. Why am I thinking that? Why am I feeling that? And be curious. We're not curious enough. We dismiss, we bottle, we cover up.
Yeah. That's most people's lives, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was me.
Go easy on yourself and know that we are all in this craziness together, feeling it and living it in our own fucked up ways. You are definitely not the only one holding on to the emotions that have nowhere to go, that must be repressed because those around you do not understand them or want to know about them. That is hard to endure.
I'm still learning all of that. It doesn't stop, our lessons don't stop.
That's the reality of it. There is no end point.
No.
I think, I've got to this certain point,
I'm
but
good.
then sometimes you go backwards and you're like, I've done that myself. I'm like, why have I got better yet?
Yeah.
It's like, because unfortunately, as humans, that's what our lives are. We're all about growing and learning from ourselves and from others.
That's right. And it's layered. Everything is layered. Just when I think, oh yeah, I've got that down pat, I'm all good. Whack, it comes back around.
Yeah.
Art therapy is, of course, only one of many ways that you can let yourself go freely. But art therapy, most importantly, is being led by someone who is accepting and supportive and a kindred soul who helps you to trust yourself when there are moments of doubt.
I lost my emotion, like we talked about earlier, because it was controlled and it was never good enough and it was never right, or you're not allowed to feel that way.
Well, don't tell anybody.
Yeah. All of that stuff.
Act
So
normal.
you lock it away and you just forget about it. But
And that's majority of people's stories. I've seen hundreds of people come through these workshops and working with me, and every single person has suppressed emotion.
yeah.
And it's something that we are taught to fear. But again, it's because we haven't had the caregiver to hold space. So it's hard to hold space for that.
Of course, when we want to do anything, there is that shitty voice that pipes up to let us know undeniably that we are hopeless, not good enough, we can't, why bother? Just look how awful this is. And we listen. We listen to that voice as if it knows best. Why accept that as truth? We wouldn't say it to someone else, would we?
What would you do if a child came to you and said that they felt those feelings? Would you tell them they're an idiot and shut up and get on with it? Or, you know, go and do this and that and whatever? No, you wouldn't. You would sit with them.
We treat ourselves like that, don't we?
And it's the same when you create. I always say, if you haven't created for a while, talk to yourself like you would a small child. If a small child was sitting down for the first time ever and they drew a picture, what would we say? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Keep going. Oh, I love that colour. But instead, when we sit down and create, we say, oh my God, this is so ugly. I hate this. This is terrible. This is a waste of time. You've got so many other things to do.
Yeah. Why did I bother?
Why did I bother? Look at everyone else's. They're all better than you. All that jargon goes on when we create. But if we talk to ourselves like a small child, it changes the game. It's like, oh, that's so good. Oh, I love that colour. This makes me feel good. Rather than that inner critic taking the seat all the time. And when we can harness that and practice that, it will filter out into our life.
Creating is all about joy. It's not about creating a masterpiece that's going to sell for millions of dollars, or creating an award-winning book, or creating a 5-star meal. What's missing is joy. That is the missing piece of the puzzle, and it brings the whole picture into view. A lot of the day-to-day is taken up with responsibility, bills, work, kids, rushing from here to there. Where is the joy in any of that? There very rarely is some. Art can help bring that back into your life. And how do you get there? By listening.
You can quieten down the mind. The more that we sit with ourselves, the more that little voice comes back. And the more that we trust that intuition and that decision making. And when we start to create, you see how much you're missing that. Because when you create, if you're not given very many instructions, it's kind of like, oh, well, what do I do? We have to trust our instincts and our intuition. And it's the same with feeling. It's like, oh, what's that? Oh, I thought I locked that away. And sometimes, you can feel an emotion when you're expressing. It's about reconnecting ourselves with all these things that we've forgotten, especially for women. Intuition, creativity, massive, and being able to express ourselves.
Being with ourselves in the quiet is scary. Feeling what is truly in our heart can be terrifying.
We can't find that in the busy. We can't find it in the head. So everything points to the heart. Everything. So we're kind of being taught, figure it out in the brain. And we'll never find the answer there. Never find the answer there.
I've noticed that.
It's confusion. It's this and that, and it ping pongs, and it's crazy. And you think you know, and then you don't. Then you question, then you doubt, because it's up in here. That will never lead us inward. The only thing that will lead us inward is the heart. So I teach all my clients, and even through my workshops, meditation is a big part of all of this. Is bringing it back to the breath. And we bring the breath from the mind into the heart. And you physically feel it coming into the heart. Feel the warmth of the heart. Think of people you love, whatever brings you into that space. And as you start to do that and start to practice that, the heart starts to speak. And it has to be in the quiet. For me, the most important thing is slowing down that mind and coming into that heart space. It might not be meditation for you. It might be swimming in the ocean. It might be having a shower and just imagining all the busyness.
Because there are lots of different ways to meditate. We think it's all just sitting there, but just doing something quiet and meaningful and just
walking in nature. Take the earphones out. Leave the phone at home. It's all those simple things that we've forgotten because we're so distracted.
Simplicity is okay. It doesn't have to be complicated. Embrace yourself as you are in the creation. Slow down. Go quiet. Find out who you truly are by listening to the woman within.
Our greatest gifts are the ones that come easy to us. The things that we love to do that come easy, that we take for granted. It's like normally we try and do things that are hard, or I have to learn that. But what do you actually already know? What are you actually already really good at? What do you do? What did you do as a child that came naturally to you, that came to you without you even asking? It's that. It's knowing that's your authenticity. before the world came in and messed everything up.
Yes, took it away.
Who were we?
If you would love to know more about Lisa and Seven Breaths, you can find her details in the show notes below. Lisa does offer art therapy workshops, private workshops, one-on-one therapy sessions, and she does vision board workshops a couple of times a year. These are all held on the Gold Coast, but I have no doubt that there is something similar where you live, should you not live on the Gold Coast. But her one-on-one therapy sessions can be done online, which is definitely something to consider. If you feel something bubbling inside of you, a hint of inspiration, a gentle nudge to create, then I hope her story impresses upon you the meaningful urgency to find that one thing to do for yourself today that gives you joy, that brings you pleasure, that helps you to calm yourself into creation. What is it that you want to do? That one thing in the back of your mind that has been hovering there for years, even decades. Do it, start it, create it, whatever it may be. No pressure, no judgment, and certainly no holding yourself back anymore. If you love this interview with Lisa, you can find the full interview here on the Love Body Woman channel. There are 8 billion people in the world, which means there are 8 billion individual and very, very different worlds within this one world. Each person has their own ideas, perspectives, opinions, trauma, pain, experience, and no doubt a longing to be free from all of that heaviness. But what keeps us stuck in all of the shitty stuff? What keeps us living in all of that emotional trauma, the drama of it? What really holds us to our past and has us reliving it over and over and over again? There are lots of reasons for this. There are lots of perspectives and opinions and expert deductions on this. And I can say with certainty that I can make my own deduction that as a woman, we have a lot to deal with, inside and out, past, present, and future. Now, there are too many people always giving us reasons as to why not. Reasons and rules being forced upon us to keep us small, to hold us back, to not trust our own capabilities. But even when we do, there are still obstacles being constantly thrown into our path for which we must do our best to avoid and jump over. But within us, the biggest obstacle of all is our mind. 30 plus years of depression and being led by my own dark thoughts has certainly given me a unique perspective that I cannot ignore. But what I do want to ignore is my fucked up mind and all of the crap that I hear in there. It's hard, it's heavy, and I do find it actually heartbreaking to think about how many of us are living our lives ruled by the nonsense of the mind, feeling depressed, anxious, uneasy, not good enough, doubtful, even confused and unsure about who we really are and why we are even here if all we feel is shit. Love Body Woman is all about listening, learning, and loving. And as I share with you in the following video, even going outside for a walk in the sunshine comes with its challenges for me. I am dragging behind me the biggest baggage that is filled with so much doubt and worry and anxiety and shame and embarrassment about who I am and why I should not, at all costs, stand anywhere close to the person that I actually am. I must only live as that made-up version of myself that is apparently all I am worthy of being, even if she is scared, timid, and living a life that she has no control over. As I talked about already in this episode of the Love Body Woman show, I had depression for over 30 years. It started when I was a teenager. I put on a lot of weight in a few short years, I really just had so much self-loathing and hatred for myself. It just grew and grew and grew, along with the size of my body. And as much as I wanted to do certain things, I had ideas and inspirations to go out for a walk, to exercise, to do fun things. I rejected all of them because I hated myself so much. I didn't deserve to feel any good inside myself. So even going for a walk like this, it took a lot of effort. But the irony is, I actually really enjoy walking. I could walk for hours and hours. And, you know, on the odd occasion when I just made the decision and didn't think about it, I did it. But I know a lot of times when I have really struggled with the decision to go for a walk, when I have struggled to pull myself out of myself and just put one foot in front of the other and walk outside, there was a whole carousel of luggage that I would be dragging along with me, thinking just stupid thoughts the whole time about, oh, I don't want to do this, it feels lonely, I'm on my own, what else, I don't deserve it. It's really hard to kind of put into words the craziness of what goes on inside your mind, but it was there with me, just coming for a walk with me when all I wanted to do was get outside and enjoy some sunshine, lots of wind, and just move my body in the way that I really, really enjoy doing. But especially in my teenage years, I couldn't do that because I became too heavy, and I became heavy with emotion that really just held me back so much. And the decades after that, well, everything was intermittent. I would stop and start and stop and start and feel good until I felt really good, and then my depression would swoop on in and go, hang on, no, sorry, you're not allowed to feel like that. We must feel like this. We must hate ourselves and wallow in our own misery and just feel like shit. That's what we deserve. So before I knew that I didn't have to believe that bullshit, that I didn't have to believe those lies, I would believe those lies. I would believe that bullshit. I believed that that was all I was worth. So I wouldn't do it. My depression wouldn't let me. My depression stopped me from doing so much. But there's a lot of stuff that I've just done anyways, and I haven't even thought about it. So getting outside, getting blown away, and just moving my body is a little hard sometimes. Still I have to convince myself to enjoy it, that I do deserve it, that I do deserve to feel good, because I do. I mean, this world is beautiful when we choose to look at it that way. So my depression might not want me to, but I want me to. So there's going to be plenty more of that, plenty more figuring out what I really do enjoy beyond that misery and beyond that depression, that really stopped me from truly enjoying and embracing my life. So it's time to do that now. I get to do that. Never too late. I have learnt a lot about our existence here on Earth, but really I've only just scratched the surface. My desire to know all about who we are is really very strong. So come along with me as I search, scour, and discover what the fuck is going on inside of us, and what we can do about it, if anything at all. And I say that because I see that some of us are still really struggling just to get through the day, to know what is right, to be more than they know themselves to be, to want to be more, but not knowing what that is or how to achieve it. Waking up every day to the same old drudgery, the same old thoughts and the same old feelings and the same old life, feeling stuck, living on repeat in that Groundhog Day. It's frustrating and it's fucking miserable. And as you saw in the video, I constantly believed my mind, my shitty voice, forever convincing me that I was not good enough to have anything that I longed for. I was listening to the wrong part of me. And as I have come to discover, there are multiple parts to who we are. And I've deduced them to be our mind, our ego, and our loving voice, which is also known as the soul, our guidance, or our inner being. I want to share with you now 3 ways that I find helpful when I am full of doubt and worry and anxiety, and I feel like I am that insecure, self-deprecating teenage girl who just wants so badly to feel good, to know that I can be something, that my dreams and my life are important, that I get to live with love and kindness, that they are there for me whenever I need them. The first thing I do for myself is I question everything. I question every thought, I question every feeling, I question every behavior, because I have come to learn that at least 95% of any of that is just bullshit. It has come from a place that has been made up, that my mind has convinced me is the truth of who I am, that I am my anxiety, that I am my depression, that I am my food addiction, that I am unworthy, that I'm not good enough, all of that crap that a lot of us feel and think about ourselves. And we believe it. We believe it as if it's the truth, because there is that voice inside of us that keeps telling us. And I know for myself, I didn't know that that voice wasn't who I was, that voice might be inside of me, but it's really not all of me. That, as I said, there are these different parts to who we are. So by listening to what's going on and then questioning what's going on inside of me, I get to understand myself more, and I get to make the choice as to whether that is true or not. I can decide that. I can tell the voice in my head, no, thank you. I don't think that's true. Like, you can just shut the fuck up. That is not true. I don't believe that anymore. And it's not to say that things are perfect inside of me. I still have a lot to deal with, because I was this particular way for so long. And there is a lot to get rid of. And I've got rid of a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of layers under there. There's a lot of stuff that I have to dig through. But questioning everything that's going on inside of me is definitely one of my biggest, I don't know, one of the biggest things that I can do for myself. One of the most important things that I can do for myself. Because I now understand that there is more going on inside of me than just this one-dimensional, shitty-ass voice that likes to convince me of everything that I'm really not. So question everything, but do it with love and kindness. The second thing I do for myself is I love information. I love learning. I love hearing what other people have to say. There is so much great stuff out there. As we all know, there's a lot of shitty stuff out there too. People just saying stuff for their own selfish reasons. But that's where we have to learn to hear what people say, but ultimately listen to what we have to say, what our loving voice has to say. Not listen to that shitty mind, but go deeper and hear what our loving voice is saying. Is this right for us? Is this true for us? Do we need to let it go, or do we need to embrace it somehow? To work with it? I certainly, as a teenage girl, I listened to everybody but myself, and it led me nowhere. So as an adult, I came to realize that I can't do that anymore, that I can hear what all of these wonderful people have to say, that I can be led by my loving voice to a lot of wonderful people who are saying what I need to hear, and then just letting everything else go. Again, it's not about being perfect. Sometimes I'll listen to a lot of stuff, but if it doesn't feel good, then I know that it's not right for me, that I just have to let it go, ignore it, not get caught up in it, and just take it as I need it. So hearing what other people have to say is important, because we've all got such unique perspectives. I'm doing the exact same thing here. I'm sharing with you what I know and what I've learned. Not all of it's going to be right for you. And I have had to teach myself actually to not encourage people to take on what I say as if what I say is the be all and end all, because as humans, that is something that we like to do too, that because we say it, then it has to be the truth for everybody. But that is not the case. We get to listen to ourselves. We get to listen to our gut and trust that that feeling is going to lead us to what we need to know and what we need to hear, and how we want to live our own individual life. So the other thing that I do is that I've taught myself to know the difference between my loving voice and my shitty voice, which I've already touched on a little bit. So how I do that is, as I just said, one feels good, but the other doesn't. My mind likes to talk shit to me. It likes to make me believe things that aren't true. And yes, I do still fall for its tricks every now and again, unfortunately. And I can get caught up in the lies and the stories and the excuses and the bullshit of why I shouldn't do this or why I shouldn't do that. But I keep going, and I haven't stopped giving up on myself. I am determined to figure this shit out, to figure myself out, and to keep listening to the stuff that feels good and letting the other stuff go. Now, here's some advice that you didn't ask for. Keep going, just like I said I am doing, because you really aren't worth it. Your life is not a mistake, and it is not unworthy. You have a very special place in this world. Take time to hear who you are beneath all of that mental madness, all of the lies and the bullshit and the fucked up stories that have you believing you are something that you are not. So whatever mental hell, because it is fucking hell sometimes, you are living in, just know that the loving voice inside of you can and will bring you to a place where you can feel relief. Now, doing the hard thing of changing is completely fucked up in itself. It's awkward, it's lonely, and it's miserable, but it is absolutely necessary. And staring down the barrel of all of your stuff makes you want to shit yourself. You just might, because it's a fucking mess. But you have to do it anyway. Because not too far down the line, you will realize you have more to give yourself than you think. It's never too late to begin. Just listen. Here is your ugly truth homework. Each episode, I will give you a little something to do to learn a bit more about yourself, to go deeper than you may have dared to before. It's scary in there, but you hold the light to your own happiness, your own love, your own absoluteness. So grab a piece of paper and a pen, pencil, marker, and draw. Take Lisa's advice and just draw something. Or you could use your fingers and get messy with some paint. Be like your kindergarten self again. Let your younger self take over. Engage in the moment of creation. Have fun with it. Quiet the mind and focus only on what you are drawing, whether it be 100 lines or an intricate pattern, swirling paint around the page in an exuberant way. But be easy on yourself. There is no perfection, there is no judgment, only quiet or crazy creation. Now, this is what I can create when I get out of my mind and my comfort zone, and especially out of my own way, when I listen to the woman within. I love to draw, but I love to write the most. Writing has always been my first love. That is where I believe I shine the brightest. I write poems and short stories, which you can find on the Love Body Woman website. Coming up on the next episode of the Love Body Woman show, we talk about learning who you truly are. Now, numerology is an interesting concept, with its origins dating back thousands of years to Greek philosopher and mathematician Pythagoras. Numerology is the energy of numbers and also letters that help us to learn a little bit more about ourselves and the lives we are here to live. Now, back in 2022, I went to see Emma here on the Gold Coast, who's a numerologist, to do just that, to learn a little bit more about myself, because I was hungry for knowledge about this woman that I had become. And I share my interview with her and her perspective on learning more about who we are, plus so much more. So thank you so much for joining me here on the Love Body Woman show. I hope that you have found what you are looking for and that you are now able to take a little bit of time to listen to yourself a bit more and not that fucked up voice inside your mind, because it's lying to you. Remember, there is no love outside of you greater than the love inside of you. See you next time.